You're watching TAG TV. You're watching TAG TV.
Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a program that talks about the breeding of terrorism and its impact on South Asian nations. Let's begin with the headlines first. Indian Prime Minister declares India's commitment in fighting terrorism. Sri Lankan PM Ranil Wickremesinghe calls for policy changes to deal with the new phase of terrorism. Pakistani terror groups and POK launch anti-India protests. And Masood Azhar resurfaces with message invoking jihad in Kashmir. India celebrated its 73rd Independence Day this week, and as the ritual follows, Indian Prime Minister addressed the nation from the ramparts of the Red Fort after hoisting the tricolour. In his address to the nation, Narendra Modi launched scathing attacks on the traders of terrorism and said that India will continue playing an active role in fighting terrorism, not only for itself, but also for all countries in the world who are struggling from the menace of terrorism. A report.
Issuing a warning to terror mongers, Indian Prime Minister launched a sharp verbal attack on nations and entities that promote terrorism in the region. Addressing the nation on the 73rd Independence Day, Modi, ahead of his visit to France for the G7 summit, where they will discuss counter-terrorism measures, outlined the need for all global powers to come together to fight terrorism, asserting that his government's policy for eradicating terrorism was firm and clear.
शांति और सुरक्षा विकास के अनिवार्य पहलू हैं। दुनिया आज असुरक्षा से घिरी हुई है। दुनिया के किसी न किसी भाग में किसी न किसी रूप में मौत का साया मंडरा रहा है। विश्व शांति, विश्व समृद्धि के लिए भारत को अपनी भूमिका अदा करनी होगी। वैश्विक परिवेश में भारत मुख्य दर्शक बन के नहीं रह सकता है और भारत आतंक फैलाने वालों के खिलाफ मजबूती के साथ लड़ रहा है। विश्व के किसी भी कोने में आतंक की घटना ये मानवतावाद के खिलाफ छेड़ा हुआ युद्ध है और इसलिए मानवतावादी शक्तियां विश्व भर की एक हो।
Indian Prime Minister Modi also assured the neighbouring countries of India from the Red Fort that India is committed to its fight against terrorism and strongly condemns the terror attacks on its neighbour countries like Sri Lanka.
कुछ लोगों ने सिर्फ भारत को ही नहीं, हमारे पड़ोस के देशों को भी आतंकवाद से तबाह करके रखा हुआ है। बांग्लादेश भी आतंकवाद से जूझ रहा है, अफगानिस्तान भी आतंकवाद से जूझ रहा है। श्रीलंका के अंदर चर्च में बैठे हुए निर्दोष लोगों को मौत के घाट उतार दिया। कितनी बड़ी दर्दनाक बातें हैं और इसलिए हमें आतंकवाद के खिलाफ जब हम लड़ाई लड़ते हैं तब हम इस पूरे भूभाग के शांति और सुरक्षा के लिए भी हमारी भूमिका अदा करने के लिए सक्रिय काम कर रहे हैं।
Modi stressed on India's strong and clear policy of going after those spreading fear and resorting to violence. These assertive statements from Indian Prime Minister came just a day after Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan threatened war against India.
As tension between India and Pakistan soared after Indian government's decision to read down Article 370, Islamabad has hurriedly reactivated nearly a dozen terror camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, close to the international border along Jammu and Kashmir. The intention is to keep the terror launch pads ready for unleashing deadly terror attacks in India and in Jammu and Kashmir in retaliation to Indian government's progressive step in Kashmir. A report.
During past few weeks, hectic movement of terrorists around the terror camps in Pakistan occupied Kashmir is being observed. Terror camps in Kotli, Rawalkot, Bagh and Muzaffarabad in POK area were almost inactive in the wake of the May 2019 deadline by the international body Financial Action Task Force, which asked Pakistan to curb terror financing.
Traditionally, the terrorist camps of Pakistan used to be Pakistani occupied Kashmir. After removal of Article 370, Pakistan feels that it must do something to show it to the public that it is very active as far as Kashmir is concerned. Terror camps have come back to POK so that infiltration can be done in a near manner. From after training there, they'll be brought onto the launch pad, which is just about 1 to 2 kilometers from the border, and they will infiltrate into India.
Intelligence reports have revealed that more than 150 cadres of Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Toiba and veteran Taliban have reportedly assembled at Fagush and Kund camps near Kotli and Shawai-e-Nalla, Abdullah bin Masood camps in Muzaffarabad area. Sources in the Indian Security Department have said that Indian National Security Advisor Ajit Doval held a high-level meeting with senior officials from Indian intelligence bureaus and heads from other security departments of India. In the meeting, Doval discussed strategies to tackle any threat coming from across the border in the backdrop of the government's bold decision to bury Article 370 and bifurcate state of Jammu and Kashmir into 2 union territories.
Pakistan will use terrorism as a strategic weapon. It will infiltrate terrorists from the line of control. They may even try to infiltrate terrorists from the international border, as they had done during the Pathankot strike or the Gurdaspur strike. They will attempt to come from the sea borders, as was done in 26/11. So these are all threats which are possible. Whether they have the capability to do it or not, the time will only tell us. They have tremendous capabilities as far as training of terrorists or infiltration of terrorists are concerned. They will definitely want to do it. So what India needs to do is have a very strong counter-infiltration posture.
Reliable sources from Indian intelligence team have also revealed that a few outfits of Fedayeen of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba infiltrated into Kashmir during the cross-border shelling during the past fortnight. Indian security officials have placed various strategies into action to neutralize these groups. Terror outfits have continued to train their personnel inside and outside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, apart from the line of control.
It is important that we keep a watch on various activities which Pakistan will do to increase the level of violence in India, record it and bring it to the notice of the international community that Pakistan has not stopped supporting terrorists. Their camps have been activated. They are giving them financial aid. They are giving them all kinds of aid so that the FATF will put further restrictions on them. And what we would want to happen is that Pakistan is declared as a state sponsoring terrorism.
In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area, veteran Taliban cadres have a strong hold and there are credible inputs. The terror activities are effectively operating in Manshera area of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. After sanctions by FATF, several terror camps in Pakistan reduced significantly. However, many terror factories are still operative on its soil.
Sri Lankan Prime Minister had recently made a statement before a parliamentary committee investigating Easter Sunday bomb attacks that the country should prepare itself to tackle new types of terrorism. Referring to religious extremists turning to terrorists in the country, he pointed that Sri Lanka must now brace itself to deal with the new phase of terrorism. We have a report.
A few days ago, Sri Lanka's Prime Minister told a parliamentary committee investigating the Islamic State-inspired Easter Sunday bomb attacks that the country should prepare itself for new types of terrorism. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe pointed out that the existing policing, investigative agencies and laws had experience with ethnic Tamil separatists during Sri Lanka's civil war, but the country must now deal with a new phase of terrorism. He said that the terrorism we see today doesn't have a central organization. There is no need to conduct classes to recruit people. People join through websites. He also added that a team can come and attack, or it can be done by one person if he makes up his mind to drive a lorry and kill 10 people. Wickremesinghe, testifying before the parliamentary committee, said that he proposed to the cabinet and obtained a report from members to draft new laws to deal with people who travel to fight in foreign wars and who have gone to terrorist training centers. He proposed to form the new laws based on British laws drafted from the 2000s until now. The whole existence of the internet and the web has made a big difference. This is a sort of phenomena of the last 10 years. Not only us, throughout the world, they are facing how to deal with this. Some countries have offered to help us, UK and Singapore, Wickremesinghe said. Although the Sri Lankan Prime Minister conceded to the lapses in security when April 21 suicide bombings happened in the country, he also seemed defensive, saying, police had evidence against the attack ringleader, Masood Azhar, to charge him only for hate preaching under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. But police at the time could not look at him, and he was thought to have fled to India illegally by boat. Wickremesinghe, in his testimony before the parliamentary committee, insisted that he was personally unaware about the prior warnings that had been received and that he has not received a satisfactory answer on why he was not informed. As per the Sri Lankan Prime Minister, the country could still face terrorist attacks even though all members of the group that was directly involved in the conspiracy and the attacks are either dead or arrested. The local terror groups National Tawhid Jamaat and Jamaat-e-Millat Ibrahim are alleged to have pledged allegiance to the Islamic State group and are blamed for the suicide attacks that wounded more than 500.
As India abrogated Article 370 from Jammu and Kashmir, the fret and fumed Pakistan seemed to have ordered its terrorist forces to launch jihad against India. Recently, the top commanders in Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist outfit ranks were seen holding an anti-India protest outside a press club in Muzaffarabad to sway other local terrorist groups to join jihad against India. We have a report.
In an exclusive video from Muzaffarabad city of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, terror outfits were seen regrouping with an aim to launch jihad against India. The Pakistani authorities are now encouraging terror groups like Hizbul Mujahideen and United Jihad Council, headed by Syed Salahuddin, to come overground in their bid to target India after the abrogation of Article 370 and Article 35A from Jammu and Kashmir.
Action speaks more than words. Action काम करता है लफ्जों के बगैर. मेरे दोस्तों, हम सब तैयार हैं जहाद के लिए. हम सब तैयार हैं.
Saifullah also praised former military ruler General Zia-ul-Haq for threatening India for a war when Rajiv Gandhi was India's Prime Minister. He also gave a brief on his account on conversation between late Rajiv Gandhi and General Zia-ul-Haq.
राजू जी, सुना है कि आपने बार्डरों पर फौज चढ़ाई है. याद रखिए, ये तारीख चंगेज खान और हलाकू खान को भूल जाएगी. तारीख अब याद रखेगी. पाकिस्तान भी नहीं रहेगा, लेकिन मुसलमान फिर भी 56 मुल्कों में दुनिया में मौजूद हैं. मुसलमान जिंदा रहेंगे, इस्लाम जिंदा रहेगा, हिंदुइज्म मिटेगा और हिंदुस्तान खत्म हो जाएगा. राजू जी, अगर पाकिस्तान लौटने से पहले आपने फौज को वापस मुंह नहीं करवाया तो पाकिस्तान की सरजमीन पर उतरते वक्त मेरी जबान से जो लफ्ज निकलेगा वो होगा फायर.
Terrorists in Pakistan continue to openly hold rallies despite the country is in grey list of Financial Action Task Force, the international watchdog against the money laundering and financing of terrorism. This is not the first time Pakistan has found itself on one of FATF's lists. The country was there in 2008 and remained in the list from 2012 to 2015 as well.
After being designated as a global terrorist, Jaish chief Masood Azhar was functioning at a low profile. But a latest audio message that is doing rounds on a mobile chatting app is suggestive of the fact that Azhar is now reviving himself to carry out dastardly attacks in Kashmir and in rest of India. Masood's provocative message is being widely circulated among Islamic extremists, and the outrageous language used in the message is no different from many Pakistani mainstream leaders who have been hurling baseless, flagrant statements from across the borders to provoke violence in Kashmir. Global terrorist Masood Azhar has reportedly resurfaced after months of being underground. The leader and founder of the Pakistan-based terrorist outfit Jaish-e-Mohammed was rumored to have died months ago, with his funeral held in Karachi. However, a message purportedly from Azhar has been making rounds on a mobile chatting app in the aftermath of abrogation of special status of Kashmir.
From the very beginning, this particular person, whether he was inside jail or outside jail, was completely under the control of the Pakistani deep state. It was doing whatever they wanted to do, and currently now also it is doing exactly, he is doing exactly what Pakistan government needs to do. So one hypocrisy has now been completely exposed. That is the only thing that we can say about this.
Since he was designated a global terrorist by the United Nations, Masood Azhar was being prevented from giving speeches in mosques and releasing instigating audio tapes by the Pakistan government, which may have led to a shift to more clandestine channels. Masood Azhar's message was released by the think tank Aurora Intel. In his latest address to the Islamic extremist entities, Azhar has once again showcased his evil intentions towards Kashmir and Kashmiris. While speaking about unleashing stormy attacks in Kashmir, Azhar issued warnings to the government of India by saying that the move to abrogate 370 is like throwing axe on its foot. Azhar, while addressing the Mujahideens of Kashmir, asked them to create havoc and violence in the valley to such an extent that the people will have to beg for peace and negotiations. The message, which was released a day after the abrogation of special status of Jammu and Kashmir, is being circulated among the Islamist circles as the message from Azhar, though its authenticity could not be verified. The message echoes with Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan's statement in Pakistan's parliament that signals towards a call for another Pulwama-like attack in Kashmir. Imran Khan's statement virtually gave permission to terror outfits such as Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba and their handlers in Inter-Services Intelligence Agency of Pakistan to reactivate training camps and launch pads.
When Imran Khan and Masood Azhar all answer to the same boss, in this case the military, how are their languages going to differ? Their languages are not going to differ. They will say the same thing. One possibly in a more sophisticated manner, the other will do it in a very crude manner, but the idea is the same: to foment bloodshed in the state of Jammu and Kashmir at the behest of the ISI.
Various reports also suggest that Pakistan ISI has given the Jaish-e-Mohammed its nod to carry out major attacks in India. After receiving much awaited green signal from ISI, the Jaish-e-Mohammed has started to move its trained fighters towards the line of control in a bid to infiltrate into the Indian territory. The intelligence inputs from India have also revealed that Azhar's brothers, Ibrahim Azhar and Rauf Azhar, were reportedly moved to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir by the Pakistan's armed forces. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We will be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Surbhi Sharma, signing off on the behalf of entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.
You're watching TAG TV. You're watching TAG TV.